Trio matches in the Midwest crossover, straight sets defeats against Missouri St. Louis and Hillsdale, but a 3-1 victory against Northwood sandwiched in there as well. What were your biggest takeaways from the tournament?
Biggest takeaways from the tournament. You know, earlier in the year, we talked a lot about starting on time, right? And then the last little bit, it's been about finishing, right? And the thing that I talked about after everything was done, we were on the bus on the ride home, maybe transitioning from saying starting or finishing to consistent play. And, no matter what the score is, that doesn't dictate how we approach each point, right? The objective is to win every point and not overthink, are we on a run? Is the other team on a run? How does that make me feel? That shouldn't matter. You got to kind of cut through that a little bit, right? It doesn't mean you don't ride the highs of momentum, but it also means you have to fight a little bit harder against the lows. And, against Missouri St. Louis in particular, I just felt like we let the low moments where Missouri St. Louis was a very good team. When they were playing really well, I think we let that affect us too much. And I would say probably the same thing with Hillsdale. And the one thing that I was really proud of them, we were down 0-2 to Hillsdale. We just didn't feel like we had it. And then it was tied, I think, 10-10 in the third set. And I just said to them, let's make these next 15 points a kind of guide for the rest of our season. So I want you to play these next 15 points as if you're playing for the rest of your season and see where they went. And then that set ended 29-27. And we had 3 or 4 opportunities with that point. We didn't get it done, but we went from a team that was kind of rolling over and letting another team push us around to a team playing inspired, playing like their life depended on it, and we saw a lot in that moment. And so honestly, I'm mostly focused on those last 17 points we scored, and how we can build off of that, because that was a team that had been different than they had been all weekend. Even the win against Northwood, we're better than Northwood right now. And so the fact that we went out there and won 3-1 does not surprise me. What surprised me was our inability to show up against those other 2 opponents. But again, when they got challenged to step up, I was really proud of the way they stepped up.
And now they'll be asked to do so again with really tough competition this weekend, going on the road at Davenport, at Grand Valley State. Your thoughts on these matchups, Coach?
Yeah, we went 2-0 against them at home, and now they've gone out. Davenport especially has really gone out and done some great things since then. I got to see both those teams at the Midwest crossover, and Davenport's playing really good. Their outsides, especially Haley Krieger, I think she had 31 or 32 kills in one of the matches. Like, that's crazy. And so but we've always known she is that talented. And so we're going to have to continue to work to find ways to slow them down in that phase of the game. They also have a middle back that had been injured for quite a while, Emmy Webb, who adds a lot of a different dynamic to their offense. And they're just playing really well. So it's going to be a tough matchup on Friday. It's going to be about us playing on our side of the net, trying to slow them down with our block, which has been something we're continuously working on, extending rallies as much as possible, but always leaning on our strengths, which are serving in our offense. So we're going to try to do that. Grand Valley has been up and down. They've won some big matches. They've lost some matches, but they perennially are one of the best teams in the conference. So, and we're playing them in their gym after what I hope will be a really intense match on Friday. So we're going to have to show some mental fortitude against them. Their offense is super high powered. They extend rallies really well. They never go away. But these are the matches you want to be playing in. We're trying to decide who's going to be in the national tournament. These types of matches are kind of make or break. And I'm not saying if we lose them both, we're not in the national tournament. I'm just saying that they could be a springboard to something even bigger going into the rest of the season.
Well, like you say, Coach, when you get down to this point in the regular season, you're coming up on your last couple of conference games, you're getting ready for postseason play in just a couple of weeks. So I've asked our soccer coaches about this, and I'd like to get your take on it as well. How do you balance the importance of these late season matches, both in terms of having momentum going into the postseason and in a more literal sense in terms of conference standings and trying to host playoff matches? How do you balance that kind of weight with, we just have to go out there and take care of business?
I think as coaches, you have to be forward thinking. You have to look into the future and try to kind of guess, or not guess, but predict where things might end up. But when I'm in front of the team, at least, we'll identify that, hey, these are things that exist in reality. Here are the standings. Here are what the stats say. Here's who our opponents are. Here's what, everything. But ultimately, you got to control the controllables, and in the gym and on the court is what you can control. Momentum's huge, like you said, coming down the stretch. Seeding's huge. You want to be in the top four, so you can at least host the first round of the conference tournament. So I've never really shied away from talking about those things. But once you enter the gym, all that matters is getting better, right? Because some teams might use it as motivation, talking about the teams that are ahead of you or whatever. But for me personally, it's how are we going to get better? Now I'm stressing out about all that stuff internally, but I try really hard to not project that stress onto the team, because I don't think my stress is going to make them better athletes. So we try to control that as much and as we can and talk about that. But there's no doubt about it. We have 7 matches left, and every single one of them, regardless of our opponent, is huge for what it means long term, conference tournament, national tournament, all that stuff.